First of all, there are three Mendel's law of heredity, which are the law of dominance and recessive, law of segregation, and law of independent assortment. The dominant are the characters that appear in the F1 hybrid, while the recessive are the characters that do not appear in the F1 hybrid. What is law of dominance? Law of dominance is when one allele masks another, and the hybrid offspring will only have dominant trait in the phenotype. So, what's the importance of this law? The first one is harmful recessive characters are masked by normal dominant characters. Secondly, harmful recessive genes exist for several generations without expressing themselves. And lastly, a person hybrid for all these characteristics will appear normal.
Hi, my name is Nasrullah Nazharuddin. Today, we will learn about Mendel's laws of heredity. Okay, I will discuss two laws, which is law of segregation and law of independent assortment. Okay, law of segregation. The two members of a gene pair segregate from each other in the formation of gametes. Half the gametes carry one allele and the other half carry the other allele. Allele for a trait are then recombined at fertilization, producing the genotype for the traits of the offspring. Law of independent assortment. Members of one gene pair segregate independently from other gene pairs during gamete formation. It is the hybrid cross. The inheritance of more than one pair of characters is studied simultaneously. The factors of genes from each pair of characters assort out independently of the other pairs. To sum up, law of segregation undergo monohybrid cross. Meanwhile, law of independent assortment undergo the hybrid cross. For your information, monohybrid cross is a genetic cross involving a single pair of genes. Parents differ by a single trait. Meanwhile, the hybrid cross is mating that involve parents that differ in two genes. That's all from me. Bye!
Mendelian diseases. Mendelian diseases is a disease in which the phenotype are largely determined by the action, lack of action or mutation as individual locus. Moreover, this is real 1% of all life-born individuals. There are 4 types of inheritance: autosomal, X-linked, Y-linked, and mitochondrial. Autosomal divide into autosomal dominant and autosomal recessive, while X-linked divided into X-linked dominant and X-linked recessive. Citric fibrosis (CF), a latent genetic disease affecting Caucasian, caused by mutant recessive gene. 1 in 400 Caucasian couples will be both carriers of CF, where 1 in 4 children will have it. CF disease affecting transport in tissue. Mucus is accumulated in the lung, causing infection. Non-Mendelian inheritance. First, Mendel's law does not apply at all, meaning that the phenotypic and genotypic ratio are vary. Second, genotypic ratio is that expected from the Mendel's law, but the phenotypic is not.
Let's move on to the first Mendelian disease, which is autosomal dominant. What is autosomal dominant? Autosomal dominant is a pattern of inheritance in which an affected individual has one copy of a mutant gene and one normal gene on a pair of autosomal chromosomes. For autosomal dominant, both the gender, male and female, are equally affected. Transmission can occur between all sexes, male to male and female to male. Small r represents normal allele, capital R represents affected allele which is dominant. So, assume that the father has the autosomal dominant disease. Let's find out what are the possibilities of their son to have the disease. So, offspring has a 50% chance of being affected from one of the parents that have autosomal dominant disease. These are the examples of autosomal dominant disease. First, ABO blood group system. Second, Huntington's disease. Third, myotonic dystrophy type 1. And 4, hypercholesterolemia. Next subtopic is autosomal recessive. What is autosomal recessive? Autosomal recessive is a genetic condition that occurs only in individuals who have received 2 copies of an autosomal gene, 1 copy from each parent. Transmission also can occur between all sexes, which is same like autosomal dominant disease. This time, capital R represents normal allele and small r represents affected allele, which is recessive. And both of the parents have autosomal recessive disease. Offspring has a 25% chance of being affected from both of the parents that have autosomal recessive disease. 75% are not affected by the disease. Besides that, 2 out of 3 in 75% can be the carrier of the disease. These are the examples of autosomal recessive disease. First, sickle cell anemia. Second, phenylketonuria. Third, albinism. And fourth, cystic fibrosis.
The next Mendelian diseases that we're going to touch on is X-linked dominant. The characteristics of X-linked dominant are it will affect both male and female, but it is more mildly in female than male, and there's no male-to-male transmission. For example, an affected mother and affected father will get 50% chances to get affected daughter and an affected son. So here is the example of X-linked dominant affected father. Up next, our Mendelian disease, X-linked recessive. The characteristics are it is mainly affected by males, and affected males are born from unaffected parents because the mother acts as the carrier and there's no male-to-male transmission. The examples of the diseases are hemophilia A, colorblindness, and G6PD deficiency.
Now, let's move on to colorblindness. Colorblindness is an X-linked disorder where a person cannot identify few colors. There are cone cells in our eyes, and these are responsible for color perception. And there are 3 types of cones, which are the red, the green, and the blue. Colorblindness actually consists of several types. The first one is the complete colorblindness, which also defines as monochromatism. A person with this disorder will have difficulty where all the color appears gray. Dichromatism is a partial colorblindness. Only 2 colors are perceptible to the person with this disorder. Daltonism is a condition where a person is unable to identify red-green color while protanopia is a defective perception of red, where a person will have a confusion of red with green or blush green. Lastly is deuteranopia, where a person will face an insensitivity to green colors.
Hi! Okay, now I will explain to you about incomplete dominance and codominance. Make sure you will be focused here. What is incomplete dominance and codominance? You know what? Incomplete dominance and codominance actually are the type of non-Mendelian inheritance. Incomplete dominance is a form of intermediate inheritance in which one allele for a specific trait is not completely expressed over its pair allele. The genotypic ratios are those expected from Mendel's law, but the phenotypic ratios are not. This will result in a third phenotype in which the expressed physical trait is a combination of the phenotype of both alleles. So, it means that there appears to be blending of parental phenotypes in the heterozygote. This is one of the examples of incomplete dominance. Hey, what about codominance? Codominance is a form of dominance wherein the allele of a gene pair in a heterozygote have fully expressed. Codominance is best explained using an example. The most common instance of codominance is the genetic coding of human blood groups. This will result in offspring with a phenotype that is neither dominant nor recessive. Human blood group phenotypes are controlled by genes that have three different allelic forms: IA, IB, and I. The IA and IB alleles are codominant, while the I allele is recessive. The possible genotype or phenotype combination are IARA or type A, IBIB or type B, IAIB or type AB, and II or type O. This is because the IA allele codes for A antigens on the surface of the red blood cells. IB codes for B antigens on the surface of the red blood cells, and I does not code for any antigens. Yay! Now I can understand what is incomplete dominance and what is codominance. Thank you!
Hello, my name is Yong. I would like to ask you all, what is multiple allele? Multiple allele is the phenomenon which single trait is controlled by multiple allele and has many possible phenotypes. Some traits are influenced by the environment factor. For example, the fur color of human, eye color, and human blood group. Linked trait is a trait that coded by genes which located close to each other on the same chromosome due to genetic linkage, while genetic linkage is the tendency of DNA sequences that are close together on chromosome during meiosis phase of sexual reproduction. The example of linked trait is the combinations of red hair. These linked traits have genes that have their loci on the same sex, X or Y chromosome.